Welcome back to Real Reddit Moments, where we're not afraid to tackle the most heated family fights, broken boundaries, and am I a bad person, the moments that have the internet in a tizzy. Today, we're diving into a story that's been heating up online forums, revolving around a very sensitive topic, the right to a child-free space. Is asking for a vacation, a completely quiet living space, free from the distractions of small children, a legitimate right, or is it extremely selfish, especially when it involves your own loved ones? The story is titled AITA for kicking my sister out of my house because she brought her kids on a child-free trip. Is OP someone who set and protected boundaries properly, or someone who went too far by kicking out his own sister and her young nieces? Take a look and let us know what you think. This story comes from Reddit user ChildFreeHost. We'll call her OP, a 35-year-old woman who was looking for a peaceful vacation after months of hard work. OP and her husband had been working very hard all year. They decided that they deserved a quiet, relaxing, and most importantly, child-free end-of-year vacation. They planned the trip meticulously, including inviting a few family and friends to their vacation home in a quiet countryside. From the very beginning, when sending out the invitation, OP made it very clear and emphasized over and over again that this was a child-free trip. The message was sent via email, group text, and even stated clearly in live chats. We want this to be an all-adults vacation, so everyone can relax and enjoy the peace and quiet without being disturbed. Please do not bring children. OP thought she was being extremely clear, to the point where no one could misunderstand. Among the invitees were OP's sister, whom we will call Sister Sarah, 32, and her husband, along with their two young children, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Sarah is known to bend the rules and is sometimes quite inconsiderate of other people's wishes. However, OP still trusted Sarah to respect this rule. On the day everyone arrived at the vacation home, OP and her husband had everything ready for a quiet vacation. They were waiting for the guests to arrive, looking forward to easy conversations and a relaxing atmosphere. And then Sarah arrived. But she didn't come alone. She had her two young children with her. OP was completely shocked. She couldn't believe her eyes. She had repeatedly emphasized the child-free trip, and yet Sarah brazenly brought her children along. OP immediately confronted Sarah. She asked, "Sarah, why did you bring the children? Did you read the message? This trip is child-free." Sarah, with an innocent or deliberately innocent look on her face, replied nonchalantly, I thought you were joking. Who would organize a trip without children? Besides, I don't have a place to take the children, so I had to bring them along." Sarah's answer made OP explode. "Are you joking?" OP thought. "This is my house, my vacation, and I've been very clear about the rules." Anger began to rise in OP's heart. It was clear that Sarah had deliberately ignored the wishes of the host, and now she was trying to make excuses in an irresponsible manner. OP felt extremely insulted and disrespected. This was not just about Sarah bringing children. This was a deliberate rule-breaking, a lack of respect for the host, and a complete disregard for OP's wishes for a quiet vacation. OP realized that if she did not act immediately, the entire vacation would be ruined by the noise and chaos of children, which she and her husband had been trying to avoid. With a heavy heart but full of determination, OP told Sarah, her voice cold and firm, "Sarah, I have been very clear. If you bring children, you will not be staying here. You and the children must leave immediately." Sarah was in shock. She began to cry, scream, and say that OP was too much, cruel, unsisterly, and unloving. Sarah's husband also tried to intervene, saying that OP was being too strict. But OP was adamant. She couldn't back down after setting such a clear boundary. In the end, OP asked Sarah and her children to leave the house. Despite the arguing and crying, Sarah and her small family were forced to leave. This eviction was quite tense, and although other guests arrived, no one intervened. They just stood there with confused looks on their faces. After Sarah and the children left, OP and her husband's vacation continued as originally planned. Quiet, relaxing, and truly child-free. But in OP's heart, there was still a ripple. Right after the incident, the real family storm hit. Her parents and other family members called OP repeatedly, criticizing her fiercely. They called OP selfish, heartless, cruel for kicking her sister and young nieces out of the house, especially when Sarah had no place to go. OP felt like she was being bombarded. She was very clear about the rules, but no one in the family seemed to accept that she was at fault. Was she really the bad guy? Did she go too far in defending her boundaries? In search of answers, OP posted her story on Reddit and asked the community AITA. OP's post exploded on Reddit, garnering tens of thousands of comments and hundreds of thousands of upvotes. The thread touched a sensitive nerve for many, sparking a heated debate about the right to personal space, setting boundaries in the home, and disrespect. The vast majority of the Reddit community sided with OP, affirming that she was in no way a bad person. Not only were they supportive, they were absolutely outraged by Sarah's disrespectful behavior. NTA, 1,000 times NTA. You made it very clear about the child-free trip. Sarah was intentionally ignoring your boundaries and trying to manipulate you. You had every right to kick her out of your home. Her saying it was just a joke is a cheap excuse. Never back down when someone tries to destroy your peace. This comment received tens of thousands of upvotes and multiple Reddit awards, making it one of the most popular comments in AITA history. Your sister doesn't think you're joking. She just thinks she can get away with it. She disrespects you, your home, and your wishes. You did the right thing by setting hard boundaries. This isn't about kids. This is about blatant disrespect. If you've made it clear and they still violate it, it's an act of aggression. You've protected your space and your peace. If she doesn't have a place to keep the kids, that's her problem, not yours. It's your child-free vacation. Period. I have a family member like that. If you're not firm, they'll trample on all your boundaries. You did the right thing to protect your mental health. While few in number, there were a few comments that attempted to provide a more balanced perspective, either gently criticizing both parties' actions or simply expressing regret for the situation. ESH. While Sarah is clearly the biggest AITA for ignoring the rules, kicking her sister and her nieces out of the house could have permanently damaged the family relationship. Perhaps there was another way to handle the situation that was less dramatic. This comment was often disputed and received fewer upvotes. NAH. This is a clash of expectations and boundaries that have not been clearly established for a long time. OP has the right to child-free leave, but Sarah may have had a really hard time sending her kids. Both sides have valid feelings. This comment is often met with backlash from the community, who argue that Sarah was clearly at fault. In this case, it's rare for a commenter to directly call OP a bad person because her sister's behavior is so obvious. However, a few comments may try to criticize OP for being rude or lacking family affection. YTA. Even if your sister is wrong, this is family. You could have offered an alternative or accepted this time and talked seriously later. Kicking both mother and child out of the house is too cruel. This comment is often strongly refuted and receives many downvotes. In addition to the 1,000 times NTA comment mentioned above, another comment also touched the hearts of many people and caused an emotional storm because of its deep analysis and sympathy for the OP, NTA. This is an expensive lesson for your sister about respecting other people's boundaries. You did everything you could to clearly notify. The fact that she deliberately broke the rules and thought you would accept it is an insult. You did not kick your sister and niece out of your house. You kicked disrespect and exploitation out of your house. And you were absolutely right to do so. This comment received thousands of upvotes and awards, emphasizing the psychological aspect of the story and the OP's autonomy. The Reddit community not only delivered the verdict, but also actively engaged and expanded the thread into more in-depth discussions, offering advice and sharing personal experiences. Child-free thread, a big debate about the right to child-free space, whether in personal life, home, or social events. Many shared their frustration with being forced to accept children everywhere and advocated for setting clear boundaries. Setting boundaries with toxic families. Many offered advice on how to deal with family members who tend to disrespect boundaries, manipulate, or take advantage. The story became a classic example of the need to be assertive to protect yourself. Parental responsibility. The community emphasized that the responsibility for the care and supervision of children lies with parents, not siblings or landlords. Sarah's blaming the OP for not having a place to put her child is seen as an act of shirking responsibility. "I thought you were joking" is an excuse. Many users shared their experiences of being intentionally violated by others, then using the excuse, "I thought you were joking," or "I didn't understand," to shirk responsibility. Assertiveness is necessary. The story is proof that assertiveness can be frustrating at first, but in the long run is the most effective way to maintain boundaries and protect your peace. Overall, the Reddit community has been very supportive of the OP, seeing her actions as necessary to protect her rights and personal space, and emphasizing the importance of setting clear boundaries, even with immediate family. After receiving overwhelming support from the Reddit community, OP has gained the strength to face the consequences of her decision. She has provided some important updates on what happened afterward and how she is feeling now. Summary of updates. Family reaction afterward. After Sarah and the kids left, her parents and some other family members were initially very angry with OP. They called and texted her repeatedly, criticizing her for being inhumane and ruining Sarah's vacation. OP's stance. OP firmly stood her ground. She sent back evidence of the texts and emails she sent to Sarah, clarifying that the child-free rule had been communicated in great detail. She also explained to her family that this was not about hating kids, but about blatant disrespect for the host's rules. Change in family perception. After some time, and especially when other guests on the trip spoke up to confirm that OP had been clear about the child-free rule, OP's parents' attitude gradually changed. They realized that Sarah was indeed wrong to intentionally violate the boundary. Although they still felt a little sorry for Sarah and the children, they accepted that OP's actions were necessary. Relationship with Sarah. OP's relationship with Sarah was severely damaged. Sarah remained sulky and refused to admit her mistake. OP accepted this and decided to distance herself from her sister for a while. She realized that if Sarah could not respect basic boundaries, their relationship would always be in trouble. Outcome of the vacation: OP and her husband's vacation, along with the rest of the guests, went extremely smoothly and relaxing as expected. They enjoyed the peace and space for adults. OP now feels relieved and proud that she stood up for her rights and peace. While her relationship with Sarah suffered, OP does not regret her decision. She has learned that setting and protecting personal boundaries is extremely important to maintaining mental health and healthy relationships. She still loves her family, but now has a clearer view of who truly respects her and who does not. OP's story is a classic example of the struggle to establish and maintain personal boundaries, especially in family relationships, and it highlights core issues of respect, responsibility, and the right to personal space. Conflicting emotions in the story: OPs. Initially looking forward to a quiet vacation, then shock, anger, and humiliation at the violation of boundaries, a sense of determination to act, and then relief, but also sadness at the family consequences. Sarah's carelessness, disrespect, and willful disregard for rules. When kicked out, shock, shame, and anger at being rejected and humiliated. Crying could be manipulation or the truth about having nowhere else to go. Family, initially, resentment and blame for OP being cruel to a loved one. This reflects OP's lack of understanding of boundaries and possibly an expectation of blind family affection. The Reddit community, in this case, acted as a court of social justice and an incredibly powerful emotional support system. They provided a huge source of validation and support, helping OP realize that she was not in the wrong. Receiving empathy and a clear verdict from a large community helped OP solidify her decision and face criticism from her family. This proves that Reddit can be a place to seek support and emotional reinforcement when faced with difficult situations in real life. Character analysis: OP, narrator, represents a determined person who knows the value of peace and personal boundaries. She shows courage in standing up for her rights, even when it means confronting her family. Sarah, sister, represents people who tend to disrespect boundaries, take priority, or ignore the wishes of others. Her behavior shows a lack of accountability and manipulative habits. Family, initially, represents a tendency to put family harmony at all costs above fairness and respect for personal boundaries. However, the fact that they eventually come to their senses shows the ability to change and learn. Lessons learned: boundaries are paramount. Setting and protecting personal boundaries is essential to maintaining mental health and healthy relationships. No one has the right to break your boundaries. Clarity is never too much. No matter how clear you are, there will always be people who will misinterpret or ignore you. However, having evidence of your clarity is important when an argument arises. Consequences of disrespect: disrespectful behavior can have serious consequences, even damaging relationships. Don't accept disrespect from anyone, even your loved ones. The right to child-free space. This theme emphasizes that everyone has the right to choose the space and activities that suit their desires, including wanting to have moments without children. No childcare is not an excuse. The responsibility for the care and supervision of children lies with the parents. Not having childcare is not a reason to force others to change their plans or break their boundaries. Insistence is strength. Sometimes you have to be firm and accept that standing up for yourself may cause conflict at first, but in the long run, it is the only way to maintain peace and respect from others. OP's story is a vivid example of the constant struggle between personal autonomy and the pressures of family relationships. It's an important reminder that each of us has the right to live in the space we want and the right to demand respect from those around us. We hope this story will inspire you to set boundaries, protect your peace, and say no when necessary. Because respect is the foundation of every relationship, and your happiness deserves priority. What do you think of this story? How would you handle it if you were in OP's situation? Have you ever had to kick someone out of your house because they didn't respect your boundaries? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Thank you for following Real Reddit Moments. See you in the next story.